and Alena lives in Indiana, don't you?
I do.
I don't think anybody here in my audience would probably even know a city in Indiana.
I didn't before I moved here.
Yeah.
I live up in the northeast corner of Indiana. It's a city. It is a city called Fort Wayne.
Oh, okay. We know Fort Wayne. I think I know Fort Wayne. So you're close, not that far from the Canadian border, really.
Not really, about 5 hours, 3 to Chicago, 3 to Detroit, 2 to Indianapolis.
Wow. And
yeah, right in the middle somehow. Yeah.
Does Fort Wayne have an airport?
Yes, we have an international airport, but it's not that big,
No.
but it's called an international airport. Yeah, we do. And there's over 300,000 here in this city.
Is there? Okay. So yeah. And you can go to Chicago for a weekend or,
go there. Yeah. It's really a very nice, because you can really get to all sorts of places. You can take a day trip to Michigan, and we go up there skiing, and then we can go to Chicago for things, or down to Indy when the kids were little to see the zoo and stuff.
How far is it to Minneapolis?
Oh, I think it's 6.5. That's funny that you asked. I just went there.
Did you?
Yeah.
Minneapolis, St. Paul, and that's south of Winnipeg.
Yes.
Winnipeg. So that kind of gives people. So you're east of Minneapolis.
Yes.
And probably southeast of Minneapolis.
Probably a little bit southeast. Yeah. Okay.
So we're getting it
because we're eastern. I'm northeastern part of Indianapolis. So the very tip of if you're looking at the map, the right hand corner. So
I'm going to just share with the people who sometimes watch what I'm doing, or how we met, and
yes. Oh, do.
Yeah, we met through a friend of mine. Through his name is Chad Lefebvre. And
gotta love him.
And you can tell us about that later. And Chad, I interviewed on this, on this series just recently, and Chad had wandered into my store when I still had a store, and in minutes we were just deep in a metaphysical, spiritual, kind of a conversation, and I was like, wow, this, because he had, some awareness and consciousness, and
he definitely does. Yes.
And we were in it, and so he and I've been kind of clicking ever since, and I think both kind of looking for what is it that we're maybe one day going to do something together. We've been talking about it. Nothing's really come out yet, but but I just enjoy his company, so it doesn't really matter if we ever did anything together, like in a sense of producing something or creating something, or and because I just enjoy hanging out with him. And then he was telling me about you, and that you and he were working together on creating something.
We are,
and have done a few things together already, and that you actually have a radio show.
I do. Magical Moments.
Yeah.
And it's a radio, but it's also a podcast.
Is it? Magical Moments, and so you interview people on that?
I interview people on that a lot. It's a really fun. I always say it's for ease and betterment in your life. Yes. Because we're also on AM, FM. We're also on Law of Attraction. We've got such an interesting, and then we are just syndicated on other 75 AM, FM stations. So we've got a real mix of people listening, but you always get a nugget for the week to focus on, which I think people really like. The guests I get can be anywhere from empaths and really totally spiritual to business, and how to bring that into your business, your relationships, how to live it every day, basically, how to bring the little nuggets into your life to make your everyday your spiritual, living that every day, which is what I'm about, is how do we first come to that realization. I have Soul Manifesto. It's all about bringing in that spirituality so that you're really living by it, through it, every day. versus, oh, I got to go say a prayer or I've got to go meditate. It's just there. And it's fun. I call it living in the magic. And I say, when you're not in it, you're living in the mundane. So we take you from the mundane to the magic.
Really?
And,
I call it FM. Friggin' magic. Well, I don't call it friggin' magic, but I'm not gonna. This is a family show, so I'll.
Yeah.
FM. And or for me, often it's living. It is like living in the magic. It's like living in the adventure, living in and literally not knowing what's coming next, and because I think often we're conditioned to believe that we're supposed to have this thing all figured out, and we're supposed to be planning, and we're supposed to be, know what's going to happen next, and when we don't know, we get it, or when we've never really known, but we have this illusion that we think we know.
Yeah. We do. We think we have it all. We like to have control over it. That's the problem. And when we do, we don't have, when I try to do it myself, even though I have a very big imagination, at least I've always been told I have a very big imagination, which is a gift, but I still cannot imagine what the universe has in store for me. I like to set an intention. It's different. It's not a goal, it's an intention. And this is what I like. I always try to frame my intention in a higher form, not I want to make $1 million, but I want to help people. I want to help people really tap in and live their whole spiritual self all the time. And when you say that, then I hand it over, because I've learned in my life, I can't even compete with what the universe has plans for me. I think too small. They know, the universe knows, and it will take, and when you do that, all of a sudden synchronicity, these weird things will happen. Like people will just come into your life. When I decided to write my first book, which was You Can't Escape from a Prison If You Don't Know You're in One. That was my very first book.
I love that.
Isn't that a cool title?
Yes.
I was in a coffee shop and I was typing it. I had handwritten like a journal, and I was transferring it over onto a computer. And I still thought, oh God, am I really an author? Can I really do this? And as I'm fighting with the computer, because technology and I don't always seem to click. And so I was kind of using some very choice words, and I was in a coffee shop. And at the end of the table, this guy starts laughing and he says, "Are you an author?" And I kind of looked at the universe and I thought, oh, you are asking me to step forward. And I kind of jumped in. I said, yes, I'm an author, and this is my very first book. And guess what, David? He turned out to be a published author. And he said, I'd like to help you. That's what I mean. The universe knows.
Yes, yes.
Know?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
No, that's not a surprise, really. I mean, I call those God shots.
Oh, I like that. Mm-hmm. God shots. I'll have to take that from you. I like that. I got a God shot.
Yeah. And you know that I work in the 12-step world. I do lots of guys working with, I sponsor people in the 12-step world, and often with people in recovery, new recovery, they don't have any kind of a concept of a higher power or God or universal intelligence, or often they're quite angry and fearful and self-pitying and judgmental and complaining, and they're living in that world, and so when just using the term God shot for lots of times when I'm working with guys, they say, oh, I get that. Yes. Because when something happens in their life, I'll say, well, that sounds like a God shot. And they'd be like, oh, so then they're able to start to see how the intelligence is working in their life.
Yes,
and identify.
I like that. I like that.
Yes.
It's just bringing a little boost of awareness to them. I like that.
Yeah.
And a catchy term. That's cool.
Because sometimes they're angry at God.
Sure they are.
And or blaming, this idea that something outside of them has, fucked up their lives.
Yes, that's one of the reasons why they get where they are. Yeah.
And so to help, newcomers and people at all levels of growing in awareness, to see that the intelligence is for us, never against us.
Exactly.
And to see when it comes through in its magic is, like you say, the magic moments.
Magic. Yeah. And it does. It changes your life. It really does. It really, really does.
How did this, have you always been this way? Have you always been on a search, or did something happen and you wake up one day and say, what's going on here?
No. I know, the big story there. No, actually, what happened was I was an unconscious competent. I was living this way. My mom said, you have a rabbit's foot in your pocket, don't you, all the time? Because everything would always turn out. And when I was 7, I gained this incredible consciousness, because it kind of changed my world at that point. Because it's becoming common knowledge now. I used to just keep this in my heart because I didn't think people would accept it. But I had these pictures in my room, and I was playing hooky. I was pretending I was sick because I didn't want to go to school. And these the heads of these these ballerinas in my pictures, their lips started to move. Okay. And it turned out this was, I was visited by angels, and they were telling me, they said, you have a gift. You've got to start living this gift. So at that time, I already saw that there was something real, that spiritually, that gave me a confidence. And it said, your gift is you will get spirits that come into your life. You are to help them to enter the light. I've been doing that since I was 7.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but try to tell your mom that. Try to tell the priest that, because I was Catholic. And I was told that my imagination was turning evil and I had to change. And so I learned to keep this inside me. But inside me also was this feeling that I'm going to be fine no matter what. So I was kind of hard to raise.
I'm sure you were.
I just didn't feel that I had to have the restrictions that they always, you have to be fearful of this, you have to be fearful of that. I just didn't feel that. However, it did cause me to really, when I turned 19 and I had to decide on a career, and everyone is grouchy and wants me to be the doctor or something, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be a musician. I got really kind of like, they're driving me nuts. And so I started studying with Wayne Dyer for a long time.
Wow.
And then finally, when I started listening to people, that's when I lost my magic. And I mean, I had real magic. Like, you wouldn't believe the stuff that would happen in my life during that time. It was just, no wonder my mom thought, this is unbelievable. Nobody could believe. Everything would just fall in sync, like a card deck just falling in place for you. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean. Yes.
Yeah. It was just, I never knew there was any other way to be.
Yes.
And then when I started listening to my father, who said, you need to get married. You need to start a family now, and you need to marry appropriately. My father. And so So I got married to the person he thought was the best, and all this stuff. And there was some love there. Yeah, no, it wasn't good. No, I was sitting in the, where the bride gets ready, and I said, okay, God, if it rains, I'm bolting. If you put out the sun, then I'll take that as a sign I should get married. And he made it partly sunny.
It was cloudy, yeah.
So mean. Anyway, I ended up married. I did end up with 3 beautiful boys with this, but everything that I was acquiring, I was one of the 3 top women women choir conductors in the Northeast state of Indiana.
Wow.
I loved women's choirs and early music. And I love sound, just being surrounded by that sound. That is heaven. Okay. So anyway, but I had to give it all up. There were other expectations. I lost my identity. I lost things that I thought were my strengths were put down. I went into this very weird world where I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who I was anymore. And it was very hard. My friends were not the right friends. My everything that had been okay before the marriage was now suddenly not. And I found myself just all the strength I always had, he would down because he didn't have it. And he wanted me molded into another place. I was supposed to be with him.
So you let that happen.
I let that happen because I have a family that said, you're married.
Yeah. Nice.
And I lost myself.
Sure.
When I started to find myself, when I found out I didn't have gratitude anymore, that's what hit me hard. And I went on a mission I suddenly decided to go on a mission to find my magic. Everything was so hard. I understood what it was like to live in that mundane world. Fine. It was hard. I don't know how anybody wants to live there. You wake up every day. Nothing falls easily. All the magic, the specialness of life was gone.
I've lived there. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's really hard. Everyone's so negative. The energy is so heavy. When I lived that way for 12 years, it was horrid. It was horrid. And I thought, I got to get out of this. I can't do this. I could not. That's why when we talk to people who are living in that mundaneness every day, going to jobs they don't like, now not going to a job. And now they're worried they're not going to the job they didn't like. But it is that heaviness that when you say have gratitude, they're like, they can't lift that heaviness off. You know what I mean? Yeah. We really have to get in there and just lift them. That's what I find I do. I lift them out because I know being an unconscious competent and really feeling that life and then going down into the mundane and knowing this is really not good. I understand what it takes to lift back out because I've done it now.
Yeah. I had a teacher for years. He called it living in our full potential. And yes. When we're living in the moment, we're living connected to the universal intelligence, to God, then everything unfolds as it should. And there's no complaint. There's no second guessing. There's just, there just is. And it's
that's
beautiful.
The reality.
Yes, that's our natural state. But so many of us have been programmed, if you will, and you talk about the programmers like our family and are intentionally doing this. They think this is the way, that they were trying. Many of them, my parents for sure, were trying to do the best they could for me to give me some direction I was a handful for them, I can tell you.
Right, I bet.
That's a story for another day. One day, if you ever get you can interview me another day. I'll tell you that story.
Okay, that's good. We'll do that.
But so many people right now are exactly what you're talking about. We're getting a reset. This is a reboot of the whole planet, of the whole society. And I think that when I watch people out marching in protest right now, wanting to get back to their jobs, I'm thinking, hang on.
Hang on.
Hurry. There's nowhere to actually go back to.
Yeah. If you're healthy,
you can't go back.
You can't. There's no such thing.
Yeah. So, and I understand their fear, and folks in the program, we've been told if we work hard, we can build all these things up. But I think everybody, I'm encouraging everybody to look closely. Is the life they had the life they want? But this is an opportunity to re-engage in a new level. a level of the connection that you're talking to, you know, the connection of being one with spirit, one with the universe. And I'm not talking about religion.
No, you can be religious and spiritual. I did it for years.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about religion. I mean, this doesn't have
this is
to
your
be religion,
personal,
but it can include religion.
connection.
You're right.
Yeah, it's your personal connection, your personal connection.
So, and from there, we can have, be, do whatever we want.
Anything we want.
Yes. And,
you know, but not in a way that is so hard. I think, you know, it is. Right now, I started a YouTube time, a little series called More Time to Think Twice. If people, you know, and if people, as you're home, I know there's a lot of fear. I know a lot of people who have lost their jobs. I know that. But, you know, that's the one thing my dad used to always say. In a crisis of in any kind of chaos, there's always opportunity.
Yes.
And if you feel that first, then take time to get to know yourself.
Yep.
This is an opportunity. If you are well, you have time to really start thinking of, who am I?
Yes.
You
and
don't
even
even
if
have
we're
to
not
ask
well,
where you are.
even if we're not well, often
true.
dis-ease is exactly that.
That's true.
Dis-ease. And even if we're not well, we can begin from a new place.
Yes.
And become
you start.
well.
Yes. And it's just thinking twice.
Yeah.
You can start by just thinking twice. Do I really want to do that? Do I really want to spend my whole day in fear today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not really. It's not fun, folks. And you're not accomplishing anything. Mm-hmm. But what if I instead turned on a YouTube video that had spirituality or something that's going to uplift me, something inspiring and loving?
One of my favorites. like Muji.
Yes, I know you love Muji. I do.
Muji. And he's so, he doesn't really teach anything. He just shows people their natural selves, their inner nature, their who they are. And because, you know, we so think that we were our job, we're, you know, we're a mom, we're a dad, we're a man, we're a woman, you know. Or that we're our emotions, or that we're, you know, our belief systems, and as we shed these things, we become who we truly are. Who we truly are. And
you know what? There is incredible joy in that.
Yes.
There is so much joy. Yes. I think is sometimes it just, oh gosh, you can't even hold on to it. And you know what? It also gives you, which I missed for a long time, is that inner core peace. You are bubbly, happy on the outside, but inside there's this peace. And the peace doesn't leave you when the crisis starts. The peace doesn't leave you when things get excited. It is always there. Was it James Allen that said, you are a shaded tree in serenity? You are the shade tree that everyone gathers under. Mm-hmm. That's what it gives you.
Yes. Yeah. Many teachers have called that the peace that passeth all understanding. So it's beyond understanding. And actually sometimes we can get stuck in wanting to understand.
We can. We're
trying to attain this thing with the mind, and it's beyond the mind.
It is. Or the ego, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
In our thoughts, yes. In
our thoughts. And it's okay to think things through. We're not saying you totally just, I don't know. I still process things. I still, I just went on my own little pilgrimage to get through the really last, I don't know how far we want to go, but it's a karmic thing. My little last karmic thing. I really have been processing that for the last week and a half. And it takes time. It takes time for you to process. But
what did that look like?
It's not worried out in fear. You don't go around all afraid. What did it look like? At first it came as a realization.
Okay.
And I was talking with a friend here, my friend Tom. We were sitting and just talking spiritually. And he said, oh my gosh, you brought up this word like 7 times. And I said, I did. And so I started looking at that. The word was oppression. And I have this thing about freedom, big time. I was the little girl who was always supporting the wolves. In my adult life, I can't stand to see anyone not being able to do what they want to do. So whether that's women or minorities, I'm always there. You know what I mean? I worked for, in college, I worked for, in the lawyer's office for the rights of people. So
Yes.
I have this thing. So anyway, he said, but you're bringing up oppression. And he said, that's something you need to look at. And it's that comment, which happens when it's time for you to learn a lesson, and when you're not awake, you don't realize it and you think you're being thrown into a crisis. But when you are starting to understand this world more of what reality is for your soul, you're like, oh my gosh, this is something I have to learn. And all of a sudden, everything I've watched on TV, everything that has helped me to process this idea of oppression. And oppression, why I have such a fervent feeling about this, but also how come something that you have such a fervent feeling about, you also sometimes see, which is a double-edged sword, it's also affecting you in some way. Mm-hmm. And that I want to even study more, because I find that extremely fascinating. I should have been a psychiatrist. I find this stuff so fascinating. But so I have been looking at, okay, all right, why does it affect me so? And what ways have I been allowing this to also affect my life? And it's amazing. I'm just totally transforming, and I'm leaving it behind. It's just incredible. It's incredible.
Nice.
So,
well, maybe as we leave those things behind, we also leave behind the idea of my life, our identity to, you said earlier, process something, but I think what I hear you saying is you integrating, like you've had
that's
that, like
part of it.
Yeah, like a concept, and you're like, oh, and it becomes an integration. It
same
moves
thing.
in.
Yeah.
And not in a belief system kind of way, but more in an awakening awareness kind of way.
It does. It changes your belief, because you don't always feel that everything is what it seems when you're in that focus. Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not what it seems. So in that way, but you're stuck in this feeling, oh, they're being oppressed. And you're stuck in that. You cannot see the other side of the coin.
So you, when you say you're stuck in it, you mean that you are, like I am.
Well, I was.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Get out those picket signs. Start it.
So the awakening was that those people weren't stuck in anything. They're exactly where they needed to be.
No. Well, they might need to be, but that they do truly have a freedom to change.
Well, of course they do. Yes. But they're not victims. This is part of their journey.
And I know darn well someone's going to say, oh, that's a bunch of bull. I know you are. I know you out there.
Well, but thing is, of course. I mean, lots of times people are attached to their victim story.
They are, or they're attached to their situation. There's a lot of things that go into play. Sometimes they think they have to live that through. Sometimes, and for whatever that is, who knows? That's karmic. You have to help them with it. But they have to have the realization that they can leave. And that's a powerful thing to know. If they have the realization that they can leave and they stay in it, then yes, then they are either addicted to victimhood, or it's a karmic thing that they are just trying to live through.
So that brings us back to this moment, Alena, where, where people, are in whatever's going on, and they're worried about their job. They're worried about their, they're going to lose something, or not going to get something. And they're not, it's so easy to forget that we came into this planet with nothing.
Right.
Anything that we happen to have in this moment, we're not taking with us.
Right.
And it's all borrowed. None of it's really ours. And
no, nothing's actually real, period.
So we can surrender to this, this idea that everything is perfect in the moment. and
Everything is.
you're,
And you are perfect love. You
oh, it's a
are
little more difficult
form of perfect love.
when we're hungry. Sometimes it's more difficult when we're, if there's no food in the fridge and stuff like that. But, my mission is to help people see that when they tap into this sense of, or this relationship with the moment, with God, with, like Eckhart Tolle says, the power of now.
The power of
everything's
now.
created out of this now. Like you said as a child, how everything would just fall together. Those would be in that moment, right? You could almost see it happening in front of you. So I encourage people to, and especially this last few weeks, I've been encouraging people like you and I to carry this message to those that are struggling. It's almost like if not an obligation, it's certainly, to those who lots of have been giving, lots of it is expected. I think it's almost expected in this time for us to reach out and as much as we can, because people are in a tough spot.
People are in a tough spot.
And in Christ's teachings, Jesus said that only drowning men can see us.
That's right.
So what a beautiful time for us to actually
reach out.
Yes.
Yeah. I have been telling people this little, it sounds funny and it sounds so simple. Everything I say is, because guys, it is simple.
It is.
It so is, but we have to be open. But there's one way that I love how to get into the now, that I find just a wonderful way to also begin sort of to start to see magic in the world too. And it's so easy. Just treat everything you do sacredly. Now you're going to think that's funny. Yeah, look at the look.
Oh, I'm not. I'm wondering what that looks like. I'm open.
Yeah.
What does sacred look like?
Giving me that skeptic look. I can see it. So, okay. So for instance, when I have to do the dishes, which usually is not one of my most favorite chores, but when I do the dishes, I turn on the water to the exact temperature to the side I just love. And I feel the nourishing of the water. I love to see things get clean. I focus on the things I love about the process. I treat it sacredly. If I'm walking out into the yard, I always, unless it's really, really cold, I take off my shoes and I walk in the grass and I allow myself to just feel the ground and let it just vibrate. And that's treating it sacred. If I make the bed, I am loving the feel of the sheets. I'm thinking, my God, it's so fantastic to be able to feel things so crisp and clean.
Wow,
and
that's
beautiful.
like that's being present. That's very sensuous as well.
It is. Well, it's sacred. Well, sacredness is sensual sometimes.
Yes.
So it's and when you do that, I'll tell you, things start coming alive. It starts to come alive. And I'll tell you, it also helps you to, when I was told I had to start a choir and I didn't think I could in college, I took the sacredness of it. At first I said, no way, I don't have a degree in this. I can't do this. And he said, well, I'm giving it to you anyway. I have too many women. You need to do it. You're good at it. Do it. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And so I sat down and I started to use my imagination, but I used the sacredness of what I wanted that choir to be. I didn't want it to just be great choir. I wanted to paint the music. Yes. Do you see? Yes. I wanted that music to become so vividly alive. And then I asked myself the question, why would the women want to sing for me? Well, because I'm a singer. I can teach them how to paint those colors. They're not just going to sing. They're going to make their voices bend and turn and do all these incredible things to create this incredible picture.
Wow.
See, you start to do the sacredness with the washing the dishes, and you start to do it with the making the bed. And before you know it, because things start to come alive in a special way inside of you, then you start to apply it to what you're thinking. You start to apply it. And you know what? It opens the door because then you start noticing the hawk that comes in and sits on your window shield, or the person who you need right at that moment sits there and is there for you. All these messages from spirit, which by the way is omnipresent and is in every leaf and every blade of grass, in every piece of matter you see here that supposedly matter, is everywhere. It's in the breath you breathe. And you start to wake up to it when you treat things sacred. So that is my magical tool for you. For this wonderful time that you're at home. You have time to try this out.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Can I share something with you?
Definitely.
I kind of use that tool in helping people to quit smoking.
Oh, share, please.
Well, lots of times people will say, "Oh, I really should quit smoking. I would like to quit smoking," or "Damn, I'm smoking again." And and I haven't smoked since '94, but so a long time. I was in Bali actually, and my teacher in Bali. At that time I wasn't really smoking. I was just smoking OPs. So other people's, you know, so we were in Bali. I was with Paul Lowe, and Paul said, "Well, if you want to smoke, just smoke. Don't do anything else.
Yeah.
You know, just be, you know, with the smoking, you know."
Yeah.
He said, be with everything, lighting the match, holding the cigarette, putting it to your lips, feeling it come into your lungs, feeling it go into your, you know, just be there 100%.
Yes.
And I did it and never smoked again.
Really?
Yes.
You mustn't have really liked that.
Well, for me, what happened was, as I was doing it, the thought was, why am I doing this? Like, it wasn't, it was, you know, the expression was
more to the reality.
Oh, it was, yeah, because I realized I had been smoking unconsciously.
Right.
Like I can wash the dishes unconsciously. I can make the bed unconsciously, you know.
Yes, we do everything unconsciously.
I can be in the shower unconsciously.
Yes.
Or I can be there totally present, like you said, which is so, as you described it, it's very, you know, it's kind of sexy actually.
It is.
Really present and so
it feels fantastic. It really does feel fantastic.
It wasn't, I didn't come away from that with oh, this is such a great thing. It was more like, oh, this doesn't fit anymore, you know.
Exactly.
And so I've coached people to do this and you know, just be really present, nothing else. And then they recognize it. Oh my gosh, they've mostly been smoking unconsciously and out of, you know, uncomfortableness or not
socially. And I get it. I love it. See, you can, there's millions of ways to use. I love exercises because I always say when I give someone an exercise, morph it to fit you, you know, and what makes it work best for you. Yeah. I love the way you used it too. And but it's important. It's important to be seeing the beauty. I always fill my environment with beauty, no matter where I live. Mm-hmm. I swear if I was on a park bench, there would be a potted plant somewhere. I always have beauty around me. There's a reason for that. Because then I can be more in the now and the sacredness because I always love it. I love the feeling of it. Start respecting yourself enough to do it.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
And yes, you deserve to have that potted plant at the end of the bench if you're homeless. You need that hope. That's what gives you hope. That's what gives you a belief in yourself that things are going to get better. The beauty is what does it. The sacredness. Yeah.
Yes. But those things can help us be present, be in the moment.
Very much so.
Yeah. And I think that for those that are, if people are watching today and they're saying, you know, where do I start? You know, how do I get this? And I really recommend that there's so many teachers. Like me.
Yeah. I said, what do they want?
Yeah. Yes, what do they want? But I mean, sometimes we're so caught in, you know, the lower realms of anger, fear, guilt, shame, you know, grief, complaint, judgment, that it's hard to see out of that, you know. And so if we surround ourselves with with, Eckhart Tolle and Muji and Dr. David Hawkins and, Alan Watts, everybody has a phone with a YouTube channel on it, and if we surround ourselves with these teachers, they're so available for us. They literally lift us out.
They do. They do.
Lift us out.
And it is lifting out. And, even for people who are going to be going back to their jobs,
yes,
maybe, and they're just feeling the hurt of not having the money come in now, but it's a time for them to reassess.
Yes.
And we're not saying you have to quit your job when it goes back.
No.
But you can always start something else too.
Yeah.
And you're never,
in a way, it doesn't matter what we do if we're present to this aliveness in the moment.
Right.
And so with you back living now in this unfolding of each moment, there isn't a concern about what you do, what is coming to you. It's just happening. It's,
right.
in
it's
the flow of
me.
life.
Yeah.
And you're in the stream of life. You're not trying to hang on to the banks. You're trying to resist each moment, trying to get our own way.
No.
Yeah.
And it is allowing yourself to open up to your talents and your, because I think our talents are our gifts. So whether
you sing.
I did sing. Yes, I did.
Well, you must still sing in the house.
I sing in the car like crazy, and I sing in the house. Yes, I do. I don't do as much opera, but yes. I do love to sing a lot of different music. Yeah, it's fun. Well, I love music. I always have music on.
Nice.
Music can lift you to the highest realms, the right music.
Do you listen to classical?
I do.
Nice.
I listen, but I also listen to folk. I went on a, who was I? Oh gosh, what was her name? Oh, I go on through different phases of people I discover. Some old, because I was always studying opera. So I go back in time and I catch up. But I'm always going through phases of people. But I love to listen to a lot of classical. There's a lot of newer music. Some of the meditation music that's coming out is extremely powerful. Not just the different tone stuff, but music that has the climax and comes back down.
Yeah.
Really fun. I love that stuff too. I love everything. I love rock and roll.
Yeah, me too.
I haven't gotten into rap yet. My kids like rap.
No.
I'm not.
No.
But rock and roll I like. Yeah.
Bob Seger.
I like Bob Seger. Yeah.
Old rock
and
and
you
roll.
too. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's all good stuff.
Thanks for what you're doing. And you have a meditation on Wednesdays.
I do. I have a meditation on Facebook.
Tell us about it.
It's called, it's part of this, with everything we're going through right now.
Yes.
If we can just organize 1:00 on Wednesdays, okay, for I try to keep it just about 10 minutes. I might lengthen it a little bit more because people are liking it. I get on and we are the world of light. I help you. I take people on journeys many times in what I do. Okay. And a journey is where I help you get to a place and I release you into it. So this, right, when I do this meditation, I help you to relax. We build that light within you and out of you. And then we mingle, we surround this beautiful earth in this powerful, beautiful, loving light, which is actually universal light. We mingle with each other and then we allow it to come down onto the earth and settle on people who need it, the land that needs it, everything that needs it, just Beautiful. To heal everything and disperse darkness.
Beautiful.
And it does disperse darkness because only light can. And then I always encourage people then once you can do that on your own. The power of the group is good, but you can do it on your own also. Mm-hmm. So do it both. Nice. Yeah.
Next Wednesday, I'll come. I'll come.
I would love to have you.
And I'll post it as well on this so that people can be invited to it. And if you'd like that, and
I would like it.
I wonder if maybe this Monday night coming, if we have our meditation group, I call it Meditation Mondays.
Yes.
If you would come,
I'll come.
Yes.
I would love to come. Yeah.
And so we're doing a meditation on Monday nights at 7:00 here, which would be 9:00 there.
Right.
And
that's perfect.
And we do kind of a Zoom, there's a small group to come on the Zoom, and then we do what we're doing now, which is we live stream to Facebook and YouTube. And I'd love it if you come and
I
join
would
us
love to. I would be honored.
Zoom
I would
call.
be honored.
And,
Yeah.
and it runs a little longer. It's about an hour. The meditation part, we only meditate for about 20 minutes, usually 10-minute packages. And in the meditation part of what I'm doing is wanting to a little bit of teaching, helping people to settle into meditation. A lot of times folks are like, gee, I can't meditate, my mind's too busy, or and so I help them with that a little bit, to see the mind and to watch the mind, and to actually talk to the mind, to say it's okay, we're safe, just going to take a 10-minute meditation, ask permission. That's nice. Or sometimes you can treat the mind like a pet, say, there you go, you're okay, just be nice to it. And like a child almost. Sometimes we can treat our mind like a attention demanding child, and it says, no, you can't go meditate, because what about me?
I say, go, I'll come back to you.
I'll be right back. You just sit right here, and so you can literally do that. And
yes, you can.
And once we start to see that there's a possibility of this something else talking to the mind, then we start a relationship with the observer. Yes. And then there's the who's observing the observer, and it goes
exactly
way back.
I know. Isn't that cool?
Yes, it is. So that's Monday night. I'd love you to come.
I would love to.
I'll send you the link for that. And I'm so glad that Chad has introduced us. And
me too.
I know there's a whisper that we're going to be doing something. You guys have got some big plans, and
we do. Soul Manifesto is going to start we only started it in November. Mm-hmm. So I call it my coming out.
Right. Yeah.
I came out, folks.
It's time for all of us to come out.
It is time.
And to
no
share
more of this dark, heavy, mundane energy.
Yeah.
It's time for it to change.
And so it's happening.
It's happening. It is happening. So Soul Manifesto is really starting to just bloom, and it's growing. And if people want to check out soulmanifesto.com, that already has beautiful people in it, and it's just going to keep growing. I mean, people deserve to know something more, what it really, why we're really here. What is it all really about? They deserve that.
Amen.
Thank you so much, David, for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. Love you already. I just think it's so great that we're hanging out together. And thanks for coming in today and doing this with us. And I'll send you a link for Monday.
Yes. And you'll be on Wednesday. We'll light up this world.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone. Bye, David. Thank you.